You'll notice that today is a continuation from yesterday's gospel. So just for the sake of those that maybe didn't hear yesterday's gospel, I'll do a very condensed summary. So yesterday, Jesus healed this man who was paralyzed along the pool of Bethesda. And there they would wait on the side, the perimeter of the pool, to try and get a chance to go in the pool. And the pool is probably from here to our parking lot to the temple. And they would cleanse there, ritually cleanse, not like a scrub down like we could think of maybe in the shower or something with soap and all that, but more of just a ritual cleansing, a spiritual cleansing, where they walk, they sort of dip themselves in, they come out, and then they're cleansed, they can go to the temple. But the problem was that so many people would come, and they would cut in front of the people that were paralyzed, who were lame, who were on the perimeter. And the people on the perimeter would need help. Someone would have to help them to bring them to the pool so that they could be cleansed. Unfortunately, this man who Jesus ended up healing, who was paralyzed, was waiting, not 3 days, not 3 hours, 38 years. Why? Because not one person helped the paralyzed man go to the pool and bring him to the temple. Not one person. So that's the gist of yesterday's gospel. And then after the man is healed, Jesus says, "Take up your mat and walk." Sure enough, the man gets up, who's paralyzed, gets up and walks, is able to cleanse, goes to the temple. Then the Pharisees, the Jews, they see him, and they get upset. They're like, "What are you doing carrying your mat?" "What? You have seen me every single time you have cleansed. You know that I'm there. I've been there for 38 years. You know, it's not like, well, you missed me, I was here on Thursday," but no. 38 years I've been on the side and you've butted in front of me. And the guy said, "I tried to drag myself to the pool, but I never got a chance. I'd get pushed out of the way." So it's not like they didn't know who this guy was. The pool of Bethesda was there in February in the Holy Land, that same spot. It's not a large area. So if you have crowds of people coming to cleanse before Passover, the Sabbath, then he would get passed by easily. He would never have a chance. And then the day would be gone and he would lose his chance. He'd have to wait for the next time. Anyway, so the gist of the problem was the Pharisees, the Jews, got upset because he's carrying his mat on the Sabbath, which qualifies as work. Yet they don't recognize that Jesus healed him. And then once they hear that Jesus healed them, whoa, what's he doing? He's working on the Sabbath? You can't do that. So they get upset because of that. So that's the gist of it, okay? So here we are today, and we just finished. It starts off, Jesus healed the man who was paralyzed on the Sabbath. Therefore, the Jewish leaders started persecuting Jesus because he was doing good works on the Sabbath. And everything that Jesus talks about in today's gospel, it's all about the Father and the Son. He's telling them, "I am the Son of God." God, Yahweh, that's my Father. I'm doing work because he has sent me. And so their issue was that he was doing work, doing good on the Sabbath. But Jesus is saying that, so the Jews' understanding is that not to do any work, including lifting a mat, that counts as work. Doing any work on the Sabbath is offensive to God, because why? We need to honor God on the Sabbath. And Jesus is saying, "I am God." He's making himself equal to God. We hear at the end of today's gospel that that's why they're upset, because he is making himself equal to God. He says, let God do his work any day of the week, especially if it's good work. Especially if it's good work. Let me do my Father's work. If those are in need, if there is a need, then God will act. It doesn't matter if it's on the Sabbath or not. God acts all the time. This is a sign of God's action. He is working through me. Can't you see what I'm doing? And he points it out. I'm healing the lame. I'm curing the blind. All these things that I'm doing, which are things that the Messiah would give signs of. If this person was doing it, they were the Messiah. So he's saying, open your eyes and see who I am. And so he's talking about God the Father and the Son and all these things. He's pointing out past scriptural references, past quotations from the prophets to open their mind because they're so versed in the law that he's thinking, he's speaking their language, they should get it, but they don't. He's saying, honor God on the Sabbath by thanking him for the blessings he is doing in these people's lives. Today, here in this area, take the time to count these blessings. You of all people should acknowledge these blessings. You should see the signs taking place, the scriptures, the prophecies being fulfilled. Instead, a little hard of head, stubborn maybe, they consider Jesus a blasphemer. Oh, imagine how frustrated Jesus would be. He's like, I'm speaking your language. I'm using references that you would be well versed in, and now you're going to say you're a blasphemer. It's sort of like healing the paralyzed man of 38 years, and them saying, why are you carrying him out now? What? Give your head a shake. So Jesus would be very frustrated. He's saying, it's okay to do good on the Sabbath. It's okay to do good on the Sabbath. And you and I, this makes sense. This makes complete sense. Imagine a ladder falls down and someone's pinned underneath it, or there's a car accident or something like that, or your child is in need. You're going to say, hold on, give me about 11 hours and I'll get right to that. No. The incarnation, Jesus is saying that I am God made flesh. I am the Messiah who's living and breathing, who's speaking to you right now. The incarnation of God among us is something that baffles many people. Many people. We hear about it here today with the Jews. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why would God become one of us? There's no way that you are God, speaking to Jesus. Muslims, the incarnation is a scandal. It's a complete scandal. Why would God, almighty, all-powerful God, become a human being who's so weak, who's vulnerable, who's frail, who's susceptible to suffering, who's susceptible to anything? Why would God do that? God is powerful. God is mighty. He is strong. To non-believers, Jesus is just a good guy. A wonderful teacher. Yeah, some miracles there too. But he's not God. But as Christians, this makes total sense. The incarnation doesn't represent God's weakness. It shows God's love for us. It shows God's strength, that he can humble himself to be among us. In fact, it's the greatest sign of love for us, is the incarnation. It's natural. It makes sense. Think about it. God even writes it into our very being, our everyday lives. Many of you are parents. Do you speak in an adult level like you would to an employer or a peer, to your infant child? No. We all do the little playing and bringing the food into the mouth. Come on, open up. Think about it. We go down to the level of the person that we are addressing. Think about our pets. If you have a pet, a dog or a cat or something, you play at their level. You use food, you use toys, you pull a string, you do little things with a flashlight, you do things that are common. You throw a ball, and you play fetch back and forth. That's the communication, because that's their level. God puts it in everything in our lives to show us how the incarnation is normal. God would come to our level to speak to us. God would become one of us to speak to us. Because it's normal. It's natural. That's the only way we are to understand. Otherwise, God is so distant, God is so foreign, there would be no connection. Think of a university-level professor teaching at a master's or PhD level, speaking to a 6-year-old. A 6-year-old wouldn't even know he exists. But yet, if you go sit on the ground and you play with the Lego blocks with them, they understand, because they're spending time with them. It shows that you care. It's that you love them. When you sit down with a stranger, even if you can't even speak their language in another country, an adult, you break your bread or whatever meal you have and you offer it to them without saying a word. It makes complete sense. You both understand completely. What did Jesus do? He came down and he broke bread with us. He walked among us. He uses parables that would make sense to all of them. You know, the mustard seed parable, maybe for you and I, it doesn't make that much sense. It's not common. But last month in the Holy Land, mustard seeds are everywhere. There's just fields of yellow. So when he talks about the mustard seed, it would make sense to them. These concepts about shepherds and sheep and all that stuff, they're everywhere. This is what was common to their experience, so it makes sense. So of course the incarnation makes sense. So today, let us take the time to thank the Lord for coming to us, walking among us, speaking our language in ways that we can understand Him. Help us to grow in a deeper and more profound love for the incarnation, that Jesus is the Son of God, who has come to speak to us, to show us He loves us, and to seek a closer relationship with Him.